What's up, boys? Happy Saturday. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, man? Mans. Hey, mans. Can you mans hear me? Oh, what's up, everybody? Welcome in, brothers. Guys, coaching is still 50% off. At this point, I got 7 slots left, so these are booking quickly. Let me make this not block my face. Booking super quickly. It goes away. Everything goes back to full price when this special goes away. Right now, you're saving thousands of dollars on each coaching package. This is one-on-one coaching with me where we're targeting the restoration of libido and erections. I've been doing this for years. We'll get it fixed. I just know what to do. I've been in so many of these situations. The hardest ones, actually. Most people that come to me fixing libido and erections is not actually that hard. It's not that hard. You just have to know what to do and where the numbers have to be. I got enough data to support that. BookMeLiveCortex.com. Let's quick talk about a couple things. Number one, TRT Protocols from hell. Holy fuck, man. Let me just explain to you like the life of a TRT coach and what comes through. I mean, I got people that like have full-blown ED that cannot get erections for sex, that their sensation in the act of masturbation is completely fucking muted, and they can't even get themselves through the craziest porn to even climax. But they had taken advice from, other TRT folks, people that are talking about TRT on the web, to, dose 3 times a week at 150 milligrams, dose HCG at 250 3 times a week, or God forbid 500 3 times a week in that case. Estrogen sitting at 69 picograms per milliliter. And they are a full-blown woman, like super emotional, and their dick doesn't work. They have no libido for women. The sensation is muted, and their life is essentially a mess. But they still think that what they're doing is right, and they're looking for other causes. They'll come to me and be like, estrogen's only at 69. Considering my test ratio, that should be fine. Let me tell you guys something. I don't give a shit if your test is at 1700 and your DHT is at the top of the range or slightly over, super physiologic. If your fucking estrogen is too high for your body, you're going to have dick problems. This notion of ratio, let me be the first to say it the 10th time, it's nonsense. We are not designed as men to have elevated estradiol. A little bit of elevated estradiol, fine. You have anomalies that can tolerate 65, fine. Probably at the tissue level, they're converting differently, or they've got some sort of intra-tissue dynamics which allow DHT to dominate. Not everyone's like that, and most people are not like that. The kind of protocols that I've got, I understand people are trying shit. But, regardless, if you recognize estrogen is a problem and you can't dial in an AI or a DHT derivative, you should not be sitting at higher doses where estrogen is above range. You should dose the higher doses, etc., if you can successfully use things that lower estrogen, and that lowers estrogen in a way which maintains sexual function, everything's good. But you can't be dosing fucking mega doses if you can't tolerate AIs and DHT derivatives and get them to work for you when estrogen is still over range and expect to have sexual function. I've seen some protocols from hell. Let's talk about how DHT always fixes things. No matter what, DHT is going to fix problems. Doesn't mean you don't have to adjust the rest of the protocol, because you might have to. You might have to adjust the rest of the protocol in order for DHT to do its work. But DHT always, whether it's transdermal DHT or whether it is test cream, so just bumping up the DHT a little bit, 20 points or so, which is fucking very useful, by the way. It always fixes the problem so long as estrogen is in the right place and so long as you know what you're doing and you're not dosing too high of it. It always fixes the issue. And DHT, it's not just the hormone that makes us men and deepens our voice and gives us beard hair, makes us assertive and masculine and want to control our environment. It's not just it. It is this singular most important hormone for our libido and our sexual function. I will continue to hammer home, that people out there that are talking negatively about DHT, referring to it merely as a hair loss hormone that is useless after puberty. I will continue to prove those people wrong, because my experience with client work flies directly in the face of that. I've seen so much data, I cannot look the other way. And the scientific literature flies directly in the face of that. Okay. Lastly, E2 DHT balance. If there is a balance that you should worry about, it's not the test to E2 ratio. It's the DHT to E2 ratio. Yeah. DHT has to dominate versus estradiol. If it does that, you're usually okay, assuming estrogen isn't crazy out of range. You guys have to keep that in mind. Everybody's got to keep that in mind. It isn't just about dosing any dose of test and then letting it go. When you get on TRT, HRT, you're not letting anything go. You have to architect a protocol that works well for your body. Using the generalities of 20 to 35 of estradiol, enough DHT mid-range, top of the range, and sufficient enough test to build muscle and have energy throughout the day. All right, let's get the questions if you guys have them. Hope you're doing great. Hope your weekend has been good so far. Weather's a little crappy here today, but next week it's looking like it's going to be great, so I'm kind of happy about that. My life is generally okay and happy. Just had a busy week. Corey, what's up, dude? 100 milligrams transdermal test translate to 100 milligrams injectable? No. I'm guessing no. Yeah, so curious what you think the milligram translation. Well, first of all, they're not equal, no. Secondly, transdermal assumes it's either gel or cream, and that's usually a percentage. So it's like 20% or 10%. Like if you have 100 milligrams that you're putting on transdermally, but it's 10% concentration or 10% absorption, it's 10 milligrams a test. It's 10 milligrams a test entering circulation. Let's see if there's anything else I'm missing here. I think you also have to look at the difference between where bloods go. So I've seen this in coaching, right? So maybe you guys haven't seen this, but like 100 milligrams of enanthate, let's say you just inject that at once, your bloods are probably going to go to like 600 to 1200 at the trough. If you're injecting that at once and you've already previously established a baseline of testosterone and you're already sitting at 700 or whatever, you're probably going to bump up to 1200 at trough and maybe 1600 at peak. Whereas 20% concentration, 100 milligram cream, probably take you up like 200 to 500 nanograms per deciliter. Huge difference. Also, obviously, pharmacokinetics dictate in this case that cream is in peaks quicker, DHT peaks quicker, more than injections, and then troughs faster, right? So these are two totally different things. Simon, when dosing DHT cream, you have talked about it in milligram amounts. What does it actually look like in a milliliter volume? Yeah, like one drop. You have to do the concentration evaluation from ChatGPT. So ask Chat, okay, I've got a 20% concentration DHT oil in a standard dropper vial. Here are the milliliter increments on the dropper vial. I'm trying to shoot for 5 to 10 milligrams of DHT. How many drops would that take? And it's going to assume the dropper vial has a certain amount of milliliters in it. Standard dropper vials come with a certain amount of milliliters in it, and then it's going to essentially calculate how many drops equals roughly how many milligrams. Yeah, I mean, you're looking at a drop to reach 5 to 10 milligrams on the 20% concentration. What does it look like in a milliliter volume of cream? I mean, you mean DHT gel. It's really DHT oil. It's just called gel. I mean, the folks that move it are calling it gel, but it's essentially just an oil. Yeah, you got to ask Chat that. It will tell you. It is a standard dropper vial, so the amount of milliliter liquid that's in that, you could also, I mean, if you end up grabbing sourceless and grabbing that, man, you should ask the people that are compounding that exactly how many milliliters are in the vial. You have to do your own homework for your stuff. Do it. JL Montaigne, cardio plus tacotrinos plus red yeast rice. That's great. I bet you it's helping your lipids. Total cholesterol 148, HDL 33, VLDL is 12, and LDL is 103. So LDL is not that terrible. HDL is a little too low. Yeah, I'd want to see that at 45 or above for the HDL. But I mean, your LDL is fine. It's like totally good, and it's 3 above the range. It's really not a problem. I think that you want to get the HDL up. You don't want that. You don't want that down. Yeah. Valister, 210 of prop a week, daily shots. Can't determine if E2 to not having E2 sensitive, but having issues with ED. It's always estrogen if you're having erectile dysfunction, unless you're not using HCG and you need HCG, which is a disproportionate amount of dudes that are on TRT. It's always estrogen. At 210 a week of prop, I've been there before. I had to use an AI. I used Aromacin. low dose 6.25 once every 6 days, 7 days, something like that. And then the estrogen was 32, if I remember correctly. That was fine. That was in my zone. But, you listen, that's not cycle levels of test, but most people are going to peak pretty high with 210 of test prop a week. I mean, it's 30 milligrams a day, right? That's why 15 to 25 milligrams a day is my recommended dose based on client work, which ends people reasonably close or in the estrogen sweet spot. If you're doing 30 milligrams a day, which is what you're doing here, you're just over that. So if you're having dick problems, it's estrogen. That's it. If you're starting to have issues with Viagra, absolutely it's estrogen. And no, it's not a mental thing. Let me be clear. Let me say something else. Ready? Been doing this years. There are rare instances in which you can mentally talk yourself out of having an erection, but that is really fucking hard if the system is working well. Erections are not conscious. Okay, they are not conscious. They happen automatically when the libido centers of the brain are activated. Dopamine, oxytocin fires, androgen receptors activate, gene expression from androgen receptors are activate, endothelial nitric oxide synthase and are firing correctly, and you're producing enough. The muscles at the base of the penis are able to keep blood trapped. It's all of these things. These are mechanical things. You're not firing serotonin, dopamine, acetylcholine, GABA, glutamate in a way which is preventing that. You're fucking just not. You're not. Okay. This is an automatic process. It's a process that is way beyond your conscious control. The only way where consciousness comes into play is when you are downed in that area where you have to try to focus in order to maintain an erection or, have libido, in which case you're probably picturing some porn that you watch or some chick that you saw or whatever crazy thing that you're into, and that's allowing you to do that. But otherwise, it's an automatic process. If I'm kissing my girlfriend and we're in bed and rubbing each other and it's getting a little heated and we're getting a little rough or something, I'm not thinking, all right, let me induce libido, like erections. Even if I was anxious because of whatever, I'm not thinking. It just happens. It's supposed to just happen. That's how you know your protocol's dialed in, by the way. You do not have to fucking focus on having sex or having an erection or any of that stuff. It just happens. It just happens naturally. Your estrogen's too high, that's the problem. Chris Kuzman, for several months, used Proviron for E2 control and Anavar as a pre-workout. Love that. Low E2 symptoms showed up and have lingered for a really long time. Can these two compounds cause this? Not after the cessation of them. I mean, what probably happened is, I don't know your dose, so, you really ought to include that when you want me to have a detailed look at this. But, if your dose of Proviron was 50 or above, that can act pretty seriously as an AI. 25, not so much. 50 to 75, I've seen people have crashed estrogens, including myself, running 75 milligrams Proviron a day. I had some crashed estrogen symptoms after about 3 days. First 3 days, though, I saw a walking erection and things were great. So if you dosed a lot of it, then absolutely. Maybe you're sensitive to 25 milligrams. Most people aren't. But if your dose of test is relatively on the low end, it could have taken it, slightly low. It seems to me that the degree of aromatase blocking activity that Proviron executes is different between men. Like some people are just really sensitive to its estrogen blocking capacity, and other people doesn't really block estrogen much at all. This is also dose dependent. JL Montaigne, what would you say the best indicator of needing an AI or to lower your estrogen is ED out of all the possible symptoms? 100%. Because you can still have higher libido with higher estrogen, particularly because DHT is usually high in that case, and which is what drives libido. All estrogen has to do with libido is it can't be crashed. That's all. That's all it has to do with libido is it can't be crashed. Now, yeah, there are interactions with dopaminergic system, the brain, libido in general, but it can't be crashed. Otherwise, it's going to affect libido. If it's too high, it affects generally erections. And then past a certain point, it starts to mute your libido as well via inhibiting dopamine in the arcuate nucleus of the brain. And preventing PIH or prolactin inhibiting hormone from secreting from the arcuate nucleus of the brain, which would increase prolactin concentrations, which inhibits tubular infundibular dopamine neurons. Okay. So, estrogen being out of whack is the number one cause of ED on TRT. Like, it's the number one. At the same time, though, there are other causes of it. Predominantly not having functional testicles and intertesticular DHT able to fire up seminal vesicles and sexual function and all that stuff. So number one is estrogen, almost always, either too high or too low. And secondly, it's not having functional testicles. You know, at the same time, I think that, you know, people really ought to look at just dosing a small dose of DHEA in their protocol, because it might move some of these needles one way or the other, right? It might create a little more DHT to create the perfect balance. When otherwise your protocol is kind of not great, but then you take that DHEA 20 milligrams a day, and then it balances everything out. But generally, it's estradiol causing ED. I mean, you know, that's the primary cause. This has been studied pretty ruthlessly. That, you know, estradiol above 32 picograms per milliliter makes men more statistically with a higher probability of having erectile dysfunction despite total test levels. This is just true. Dream big. How do we help GABA and dopamine levels return to normal after choosing to stop finasteride? Well, this is an assumption you're making, that after stopping finasteride, you have GABA and dopamine levels that are not normal. You should take a urine-based neurotransmitter test, so that it measures the metabolites of your neurotransmitters, which show up in your urine, so that you can determine, are you actually lower than baseline, but definitely not deficient. That's hard to do. I mean, you'd have to be taking Parkinson's drugs in order to induce something similar to that, or have Parkinson's itself. Yeah, I mean, these drugs do not do that. All that is you know, your theory that that's what's happening. It's not. You know, it's not. 5-alpha reductase inhibitors like finasteride, they do prevent the conversion of some chemicals into neurosteroids in the brain, which could make, you know, is I think contributing to part of the moodiness and all that shit, some of the anxiety, the insomnia. At the same time, though, you guys, it's mostly about hormones. You guys over convert to estradiol and under convert to DHT, and sex organs, brain have been starved of DHT. It's like going without food. You know, you're gonna have symptoms. You go without food. You go without DHT, which is the singular fucking hormone that makes you a man. You know, test is for the muscles, metabolism, other things. DHT is what makes you a man. You go without that, you're gonna have all kinds of problems. You're gonna have all kinds of fucking problems. If you're susceptible to that, not everyone is, but a lot of people are. JL Montaigne, do you still recommend 2.5 milligram DHT gel? You recommend on all clients 20? It's 20%. We're talking about percentage, not milligram. Generally, I think you want to get the best bang for your buck, and you're referring to Indractum, which is pretty pricey. You're actually going to get the 20% DHT gel cheaper. It's cheaper and way more high potency. Now, you have to take a lot less of it. I mean, Indractum, you know, you take a good bit of that gel and rub it on the testicles or whatever. With DHT gel, you're talking about a drop or two. And it lasts for motherfucking ever. Nibe Motion, good morning, brother. 2 questions. Are you really wearing am I wearing pants? Yeah, I'm wearing shorts. These are gym shorts, because directly after this live stream, I am going to the gym to do shoulders probably. I haven't done shoulders really since, or I mean, earlier in the week, but I'm cutting right now, so I'm probably looking a little smaller than usual, but I'm getting lean again, and I'm enjoying that. So I'm going to be working on shoulders. Do you have any experience with testosterone Undecanoate? No. Nope. No. I mean, I do have a few people that have come to me that said that was the only thing that gave them libido, but it became unavailable, or they were just sort of sick of dosing, or one reason where they just stopped dosing it. But yeah, that's libido, I believe, right? That's the really, really long acting shit. If you can get the right dose of that, yeah, you're gonna have good sexual function. It'd be great if that was like another like widely available option here in the States and, you know, everywhere else regarding UGLs and stuff. But not everybody has it, and in the States they don't prescribe that. That's not the first hand. I don't know if you could get it. You know, I'm pretty sure it should be possible to get it from a clinic or whatever, but they don't generally want to prescribe that stuff. But I've certainly had people come to me saying, you know, I'm not dialed in now, trying to dial in. Libido and erections are shit. The only time they were good is when I was taking libido. Yeah, that does happen. Guys, coaching 50% off right now. 50%. I mean, this is saving folks thousands of dollars. On the 3-month, which is honestly the best option if you really want to get progress. In 1 month, we can make some progress, get you on the right track. You can decide to renew from there. But 3 months is really where it's at because it gives us enough time for proper adjustments, and we need that. That is $2,500 off. $2,500 discount. The 6 months is a $4,500 discount. This is huge. This is huge. For those of you that have been wanting to book, well, now you have the opportunity to book. It's way cheaper. Take advantage of it. I've only got 6 slots left at this point, and they book quickly. It's 5 to 10 a week. 5 to 10 a week. Now, I've got some people closing late September from previous sessions, so more slots will open. But if those slots don't open by the time these are booked, I got to kill the discount. JL Montaigne, you've taken 5 milligrams Cialis every day. Any thoughts on when side effects subside? Yeah, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. For me, I mean, I'll tell you my experience with the beginning of dosing Cialis, even at 5 a day. I had lower back pain. It was like right in the middle, like my spine, but just kind of slightly below that. It just felt as if it's like those fucking bones. I could feel those bones aching, which didn't make a lot of sense to me. Over time, as I took 5 milligrams, there was a point at which I was running 10 milligrams a day. That was when I was on cycle and trying to dial in E2. There was a point I was running 15 milligrams a day, again at 700 milligrams of total testosterone per week, cream and prop, I think, and still trying to dial in estrogen. So I need a little more Cialis. And after getting used to that, I had no side effects. No side effects. Little nasal congestion. To this day, if I just happen to run 20 milligrams for just saying I don't want to take the 5s, I'm going somewhere, whatever, run 20 milligrams. I'll have a little bit of nasal congestion, but nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. But yeah, all the side effects from Cialis generally go away. Are there people that perhaps they don't go away? I mean, I suppose that's possible, but I never see it. There are also a rare subset of people who have just weird fucking responses to Cialis. Headaches and stuff like that. I don't get that. My clients don't get that, but some people do. You just got to pick and choose, man. Pick and choose. And if you can't get it to work for you, go down to 2.5 milligrams, dial the fuck out of your TRT protocol, make sure DHT is high, your estrogen isn't up over range, and you should be good. Dream big. Could I be low in allopregnanolone when I try to add masteron to my TRT and insomnia starts up again? Yeah, it's probably no. I wouldn't say that this is the cause. I think the problem there is probably that it's competing for estrogen at the estrogen receptors. And so I can tell you, when I've taken too much AI, I had all manner of fucking problems, not the least of which was a harder ability to go to sleep. But otherwise, I had fucking not tachycardia, but a bounding pulse. It's like my pulse I could feel my pulse throughout my body, and my stomach would be shaking as I'm laying down and my heart is beating. It's because I had blocked estrogen too heavily. That starts causing all kinds of fucking problems. Do you ever experience anxiety, shakiness when even taking small doses of Anavar? Yes. Yeah, Anavar doesn't agree with me for about 2 weeks, after which it's fine. And those side effects go away. The last time I ran very small doses of it, that happened, and I'm like, I just don't want to do this right now. I was having a rough time in my life. There was some shit going on in my life that I really needed to not feel fucked up regarding. I just didn't need an extra thing, so I dialed it back. But yeah, Anavar can absolutely cause fucking tachycardia. It can make you feel androgen-induced fatigue. It can give you chest pain if you dose too much of it. It all really depends on how you're responding to it, man, and what the state of your body is, your state of your cardiac function is. It's a serious drug, dude. It's a serious fucking compound. And, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. It is a very, very, very noticeably effective anabolic steroid. I mean, one of the best, even at low doses. I mean, you will look fucking different. You will feel stronger. You will put on keepable mass, build real tissue that stays when you take Anavar. It's fucking amazing. It does all kinds of things. Effectively, part of the mechanism is it inhibits catabolism. And not just promotes anabolism, it inhibits via glucocorticoid signaling, I believe, catabolism. So it stops the breakdown of your muscle. So imagine having fostering anabolism and also stopping catabolism. You just have muscle growth. It's fucking phenomenal. It's fucking phenomenal. The shit is great. But some people have side effects. How to reduce side effects of AIs? You're generally not. You have to find the right dose that takes estrogen in a reasonable place. 20, call it with AIs 20, 23 to 35. If you can do that and you're in that range and you're still having side effects, you can't tolerate AIs. Yeah. I mean, you could obviously try switching from Arimidex to Romacin because you might be sensitive to the rapid reduction in serum estrogen at tissues due to Arimidex, because that shit works real quick. It's knocking 75, 80%, maybe 90% of that estrogen down in 24 fucking hours. All right. Works immediately. So the reason they're not ideal is because of how potent they are at causing side effects, just because of how strong they are. Again, Aromacin, in my opinion, is too strong for a TRT drug, but people can still make it work. I made it work on cycle. I made it work at higher doses. But there needs to be an in-between, Powerful, more powerful than calcium glucarate, not as strong as Arimidex or Aromacin. It can work as quickly, or probably somewhere in the middle, but it'd be great if you could inhibit like 10 to 12% of aromatase expression rather than 70. Or 10 to 12% of estrogen reduction rather than 70 fucking percent estrogen reduction in 24 hours. It'd be ideal if you could, reduce it 10%, call it, and just do that every 3.5 days, and you have an adequate test dose, which will give you the anabolism, call it 140, 150. You have HCG, which keeps the testicles functional, call it 300 IU every other day or something. But, you reduce the estrogen 10 to 12% every 3.5 days. Then you just stay at 30, you stay at 30. Or you double the dose on that, hypothetical AI, and you end up at 25 or whatever, That's what we actually need. That's what we actually need. The problem that people have, the reason people have fucking side effects with AIs, and you see it everywhere out there, and people have a hard time dialing in there and they're just like not dialed in. Ultimately, I have to go to lower doses and figure out that other protocol, those other strategies which we've talked about. It's because these drugs are not made for TRT. They're not. The pharmaceutical company that makes a drug like I just described for TRT, billions. We're taking finasteride with pregnenolone. Stop allopregnanolone. What? Potentially, yeah. I mean, you have stuff in the brain that yeah. I mean, if you're blocking 5-alpha reductase inhibitors, block conversion of neurosteroids in the brain, which are 5-alpha reductase dependent. Yep. I mean, there is no way to not have negatives from finasteride by taking exogenous hormones that it might block. Yeah, I mean, that's just not necessarily going to work with the exception of DHT itself. But again, there's neurosteroidal stuff happening and all that shit. Keith, what are my thoughts on estrogen causing jealousy? When I raise my dose to 140, I feel great, but tend to get super emotional and jealous over wife's previous relationship, though I've never been. 100%. 100% this kind of thing happens. Yeah, I mean, case in point, like that estrogen is predominantly a female hormone, and when men have too much of it, we start behaving like fucking females. We start feeling like fucking females. That's what happens. Whereas if estrogen's like pretty low and DHT is pretty high, you're traditional man-like, You're just not aloof, but you're just doing your thing, and the girl is either going to come along and respect you, and this doesn't mean you're a fucking dictator and you don't respect anything about her. Good men respect women, respect everything. But good men also have fucking standards and, want their women to be a certain way and want their life to be a certain way. I think it's an admirable trait. So you don't get jealous in the case of DHT being high and estrogen being reasonably, like low end, but still within range. But when it gets too high, you start having female-like emotional symptoms, right? Because estrogen is one of the main drivers of that, via estrogen receptor binding and gene expression, but also serotonergic activity in the brain. Yeah. 100%. You're not just making it up. This kind of shit happens. All kinds of fucked up shit happens. Al N. Hey, Ryan, been on cream 20% and the 20% DHT gel for a couple months. It seems when I dose, I get vasoconstriction. Also, the DHT gets separated. I believe it's DMSO, tocopherols, vitamin E. Yeah, probably that's what it is there. No. How are you measuring vasoconstriction? Also, you're using test cream and 20% DHT gel. You're probably being a little redundant on the DHT, and you've got too much DHT. Yeah, too much DHT can be problematic. It can be. It's the golden compound. We need it. But if you dose too much of it, just like if you drink too much fucking coffee, you're gonna have a problem. Right? Especially if it blocks E2 too much at the the gene encoding side of aromatase enzymes and the gene expression side of estrogen generally. Chris Guzman, do you have experience with any overdosing daily DHEA, shutting down endogenous adrenals? I've never seen that before, but I have seen overdosing of DHEA cause all kinds of problems, not the least of sexual dysfunction and massive fucking anxiety. You don't want to overdose DHEA. Talk about protocols from hell. I've had people come to me, they were instructed previously to dose 100 milligrams of DHEA a day. What the fuck? That's stupid. There is no case in which 100 milligrams of DHEA a day makes sense. What are you trying to achieve? There's no achievable outcome that makes sense there. It is just not a smart idea. So I have seen that, but not a shutdown of adrenal production. JH, 2 clicks of 200 milligram cream has made me asexual. Should I try prop? Yeah, what it's doing is it's either a lot of DHT and the estrogen is a little too low, or it's just bumping E2 up a little too high. Yeah, that's entirely possible. At the same time, and that shit's really powerful at shutting down the testicles. Yeah, the more cream, like I've put 6 pumps on of the 200 milligram shit, and my testicles shrank fucking quickly, bro. And it started hurting, and it was just not good. I think that stuff does actually shut down the testes a little further, a little more, especially at higher doses. But if I were you, I would go down to the 100 milligram per milliliter stuff and run 2 clicks of that, and then 3 clicks of that, and then sort of stop there. And then you're gonna have to dial in the rest of your protocol. You have to have functional testicles. You should have a little DHEA in the protocol. You should look at your numbers and see where they're at. How to use Primo with test prop? It depends. Yeah, I know people that can't take any more than 10 milligrams a day of that shit, or it gives them an estrogen blocking effect that ruins their libido. And I know people that can dose 100 milligrams every 3.5 days with 200 milligrams of test injected once a week. So it's just about how you're metabolizing the shit. Yeah, start at the lowest dose possible, which would be 10 milligrams a day, and see how you fare. Get your estradiol sensitive before and 4 weeks into it, so that because it's probably going to be primabol and enanthate, so it's going to take some time to build up. See where estrogen is, and then make an adjustment from there. Monitor your symptoms. If libido is wacky, it's too high of a dose. You can go down to 5 every other day. You could try that. Some people just can't tolerate the shit, period. At which point, if you don't care about your dick, just use it for anabolism because it's really good for that. Otherwise, you got to get rid of it. Happy Wolverine, 2.5 of Cialis daily milligrams is an option. Works for me, 0 sides. At 5, nasal congestion affects my sleep. Doesn't subside over time. Yeah, what if I would imagine after a month that would subside or more. Again, these side effects I've never seen last with Cialis. It seems like you're very sensitive to it. If 2.5 is good for you for enhancing erections, then you're very sensitive to tadalafil. Some people that does nothing for. Naib, total noob to all this, but what are the absolute symptoms of high E2 that one should consider taking an AI? Erectile dysfunction. Particularly going soft during sex, no nocturnal wood, no morning erections. Sensation is generally a little bit muted when estrogen's too high. It's further muted when it's too low, though. Those are the things to look for. The secondary symptoms would be, again, as one of our guys above said, you start getting jealous of your wife, sort of fucking kind of feeling the emotions of a typical woman. We're not meant to do that. JL Montaigne, great question. Yes, turmeric curcumin acts as a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor, and I have clients actively that have serious sexual dysfunction from the use of high-dose curcumin. The answer is yes, unequivocally yes. Corey Andrew, how does Primo lower E2 compared to AIs? What I think it does is 2 things. It occupies the AR, so it's creating a less aromatizable substrate. Secondarily, though, and I think primarily, it metabolizes into a chemical which acts directly as a substrate to block aromatase enzymes. Primo itself doesn't, but it metabolizes into a compound that does. I don't remember what the compound is called. It's just one of its metabolites that is a noticeably strong AI. Yeah. It's not going to be superior to AIs, but they're pretty comparable. I mean, they're strong. Primo, Masteron, they're both pretty strong at that. But I think AIs are a little stronger, and Primo Masteron is still too strong for that, honestly, in my opinion. Again, you need a 10% reduction in estradiol drug. If we had that, a lot of people's problems would be solved, and they wouldn't have side effects. They could get the estradiol. They could dial in faster. That'd be a dream for me, who knows how to dial people, and that'd be a fucking dream. It'd make my job a lot easier, and folks wouldn't have to go on the lower doses. They can't tolerate the higher doses with AIs and shit. That we would just use this hypothetical golden drug, which doesn't exist. Masteron isn't lowering your E2 at all. Yeah, that can happen on the blood work. It's primarily competing with estrogen receptors. So, I mean, it could still be in your blood, but it's not activating gene expression. It's kind of the same thing as fucking with your, blood or lowering your blood estradiol. Crazy Dog 27. Can Proviron plus TRT injections be a sufficient replacement to TRT cream for increasing DHT levels? No, it cannot. No. To my knowledge, Proviron doesn't really increase DHT levels all that much, aside from freeing up free DHT, just via blocking sex hormone binding globulin with a high affinity. But no, it's not. It's not the same thing. Proviron mutated me. I look like a granite steel bulging thigh muscles. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Proviron's fucking phenomenal, dude. Phenomenal. It transforms your physique, mainly via hardening of the muscles, but a drastic reduction in subcutaneous water. Yeah, it reduces subcutaneous water a lot. It's pretty fucking powerful. I don't think I have an image of me with on Proviron. I just have like my current physique, and I was not dosing Proviron there. That's what I look like basically right now. I mean, this was about a month and some change ago, but my physique is essentially the same. But I mean, I used to have some images. No, that's not it. I used to have some images of me on Proviron. I was just fucking shredded, dude. Shredded. I was lean, like calorie wise and all that, but Proviron like is just really powerful for that. I love it. You only have to dose 12.5 milligrams a day to get like a physique benefit too. It's the case for me. A lot of my clients don't have to dose like a lot of it to get a physique benefit. 25 a day, definite noticeable physique benefit. 50 to 75, then you're talking about like, Masteron like effect. It's really fucking cool. Chris, thoughts on LLMs like GPT-5 for medical research? I've always taken everything it outputs with a grain of salt, but it recently helped me conceptualize some complex stuff. What is LLMs? I don't know what that is. Is that like some complex reasoning version of ChatGPT? Don't know what that is at the moment. I either have been using it unconsciously or don't know. I haven't used it. What supplements do you use every day? Bioactive B complex from Life Extension, 1 a day. 6,000 IU vitamin D3 a day. 20 milligrams DHEA a day. Let's see. It was 1,000 milligrams. Is it 1,000? 1,000 milligrams, not phosphatidylcholine, sunflower lecithin per day. At the moment, 5 milligrams tadalafil a day. Right now, that's it. That's it orally for supplements. That's all I take right now. I used to take a lot more, but ultimately just optimized my health, did a bunch of other shit, and don't need some of that stuff anymore. Primarily nootropics, dialed in on test and having some cream that I apply to the scrotum every day, just a little bit. It gives me the DHT-like feeling. It gives me the nootropic-like feeling. I drink, I'm probably throwing down about 250 milligrams caffeine right in the morning. Don't drink any other caffeine throughout the day, and I'm good. Usually drink a beer, just a good quality cold fucking beer at about 3 p.m. And then later on in the day, another beer or two, depending on the day, not every day. Petey, when I overshoot the usage of an AI on TRT cream, should I apply more cream to get into the sweet spot? That's tricky because it's going to create more DHT, which is going to sort of block estrogen a little further. No, if I were you, I'd be using more HCG if that happened. LLM, large language model, just the kind of AI product that GPT is. Fucking love it, man. Yeah, chat's extremely useful. Did you know, and I don't think people do know this, you don't have to ask chat exclusively linear questions based on your protocol or math or problem solving or whatever. You can tell chat to address you as brother moving forward and for it to call himself coach and ask it life coach questions. And you will have a literal free life coach. Now, I pay for the plus version. I forget what it is per month, maybe $10. And for life stuff, I ask chat. It knows a lot of my life. It knows my family history. It knows like the trauma I fucking grew up with. It knows all manner of shit. So I ask it for fucking advice. That's huge. That's going to be a new frontier, you know, using AI as a fucking psychologist or a therapist advice giving mechanism. Feed it all your information. Feed it your matter, your habits, your history, your trauma, your current life, the people in your life that you're trying to get along with, or you might have problems with, their tendencies, their habits. It learns everything. It gives you good advice. Nathan, thoughts on C-Link versus C-Max for confidence and social anxiety? And neither are particularly great for either of those. Yeah, I mean, those are more... C-Max has some dopaminergic properties, so motivation would be something you get from that. C-Link, I believe, is primarily GABAergic. I mean, that could help you relax a little, but those are also mostly like cognitive enhancing compounds that largely just do that. Yeah. That's what those things largely do. Brother, coaching, 50% off still, boys. This is the biggest discount I have ever run on libido EQ optimization coaching. I mean, I'm the guy that takes people from pretty crappy situations, right? Destitute, helpless, hopeless, can't get their erections working on TRT, can't get their libido and erections dialed in on any ester. They come to me and within a month and a half, the problems are solved. And now we're on the right track and we move forward and solidify it moving forward. It's just what I do. It's just what I do. You know, in every field, there is the specialist everybody knows to contact. They know that person has a great record and focuses heavily on results. I'm that person when it comes to sexual function on TRT. And right now, you're saving thousands of dollars if you want to hire me. This is what I've been doing every day for more than a half decade. I'm good at it. We'll get you dialed in. And we'll fix the sexual function. LiveCortex.com. JH, tried to raise my pregnant dose to 250 IU every other day earlier this week. It floored me with brain fog and I was falling asleep in a chair. Interesting. I mean, HEG has a lot of other mechanisms too. So just something to consider. I mean, I think it interacts with your immune system. It should, you know, because your mother's HCG interacts with your immune fucking system as a baby. So it can be an immunogenic compound. It can cause all manner of other fucking side effects. I've seen it cause head pressure. I've seen it cause shortness of breath. And it wasn't estrogen related. It was just HCG. Just didn't fucking agree with that person. You know, it can absolutely cause fucking side effects, man. But some of the side effects that come from HCG are estrogen. You know, it's an estrogenic compound. So for an entrepreneur stack, no. If you're an entrepreneur, you're better off dosing 20 to 60 milligrams of modafinil every day on top of 30 milligrams of citicoline and by about 100 milligrams of teacrine. Maybe 50 milligrams theanine to smooth the stimulation out. That's flow state shit right there. Happy Wolverine, dear God, I've been taking 1 gram of pure curcumin for the 7 years, exact time frame I've been on TRT. Well, if you don't have sexual dysfunction, thankfully your TRT is bringing enough DHT in the mix, but that's not always the case. That's not always the case. If you do have sexual dysfunction, it's the fucking curcumin, get it out. You know, I had to instruct a client recently who came to me with sexual dysfunction that had been taking curcumin for a joint problem or whatever. I had to tell them, stop now. We will not get progress if you're blocking 5-AR. We're just not gonna get progress. It's just the way that it goes. All right, boys, I'm gonna end the stream. I know I caught you guys later, so the stream has been it's been good. But you know, if those of you that are here, if you got questions, post them, and we can continue the stream. But getting kind of scant on questions. If you got them, post them. If you're thinking about shit and you want to discuss it, let's talk about it. Otherwise, trying to think about what the hell's happening today. Probably today's going to be a cheat day for me. I am cutting, so, you know, I'm enjoying that. Enjoying, you know, just looking gnarly in the gym with pumps and shit and feeling lighter and looking lighter. I do really enjoy that. But in the middle of cuts, I have cheat days. So tonight, probably me and my gal are going to go eat an entire pizza to ourselves, just half of us, half a pizza each, and it's gonna be fucking phenomenal. Fucking phenomenal. That's pretty much what I think is going on today. It kind of converted to being a little chilly here in Pittsburgh just because it's September and fall is coming, but thankfully this week it's going to be 75 and sunny, which is fucking awesome. Later on, either late September or early October, I will have to take a break from content for a week because I am going to Florida on vacation. So just wanted to keep you folks in the loop about that. Otherwise, again, those of you that are here, I've got 6 slots left right now. Now, people are ending their sessions soon. In September, late September, around the 15th to the 20th of September, got a bunch of people dropping off that we're done. They're dialed in. Erections are back. Libido is back. So I might continue the special, but it's just no guarantee. Either way, you're saving thousands of dollars on coaching right now if you book me livecortex.com. Thousands of bucks. And we got on the fact-finding call a day later or that day. I am instant. And I'm not one of those coaches that takes days to respond to you. You send a message regarding your protocol, an update, libido, whatever. I'm reading it. It all goes to every device I have, including my fucking phone. I am very responsive. Book me at livecortex.com. Whatever issues you have, we'll resolve them. All right, boys, I'm in the stream. Great questions. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Again, this week I'll be doing content pretty much every day. I've been pumping out a lot of content. There's a lot to talk about. A lot of clients. There's a lot of new shit to discuss. Opinions, experiences, protocols. So much more to come. Please look forward to that. Otherwise, like the video if you can. If you're new, sub to the channel. I would love that. Again, 50% off coaching goes away pretty soon. So those of you thinking about it, go book. Source list if you need 20% DHT gel or any anabolic you can think of. That's in the description and at livecortex.com. There's discount codes for everything. Go get some products. Support us. Kick ass, rock on. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Peace.